You did not miss math, Miss Margaret. You are in the right place. Hello, Miss Margaret. Hey, Miss King. Hey, Sherry and Donnie. Hey, guys. So, um, there is a trial that started today. Remember yesterday I said that Kathy Russin had said a trial was going to be starting today? Well, it did. So they went on a jury view. This trial is, hey, Morgana Banana. Let me know if you guys can see what's on the screen. Can you see the feed? Or do you only see me? Because I don't know if StreamYard's going to be poopy pants or not. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, you can see the dude on the screen right now with the long crime stuff. Okay, Miss King and Donnie both say yes. Hey, Morgana Banana. You were watching it, Miss King? Yeah, 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 yeah. So I didn't know what this trial was going to be until today when it popped up. But basically, what had happened was this dude named Jason Levesque um, shot his neighbor, I think 6 times. And the neighbor lives, but I think that he's in a wheelchair now and like disabled. So the Jason Levesque and the neighbor dude, um, big breaks. It was confusing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. So, um, they got into it over a snowplow. Apparently, the neighbor was uh using a snowplow and plowing snow into the other dude's yard, and the dude didn't appreciate it. And so I guess he comes outside and they get into some kind of an altercation, and the Jason shoots the other guy and says that it was self-defense because the other guy was coming at him, threatening to kill him and all that jazz. So anyway, this I'm kind of excited because this is, I think, one of a very small amount of times where we've actually got a victim that is living, that survived, right? So this isn't a murder trial. However, it is an attempted murder trial. And yeah, let's give it a whirl. Basically, they started just to I think what Miss King was talking about with the big breaks, it was confusing, is that when they first started, the judge basically comes in and says, "Okay, we're going to go on a jury view today." He reads them their jury instructions, right? At the like the judges always do at the very beginning of the trial. And then he tells them that they're going to go on a jury view to the location where this incident occurs. And then they come back. And when they got back, um, they basically had lunch. They went to lunch after the jury view. So that's why it was such a long break. So he said once they come back from lunch that they would begin their opening statements. So they started a little after 1 o'clock Eastern, but virtual math and my kid. So I decided to set the stream for 2 p.m. I agree. Miss King says we don't see attempted murder very much, right? Mm. But I need to go find where it actually. I think this was where the judge was explaining to them that they were going to go on lunch. And then this is the lunch break. And then about right here. It could be where we start. Give or take.
Okay, please bring them in when they're ready.
Let me rewind it just to make sure I didn't miss any argument. That's the dude that got mad and shot the other guy. He's the one on trial, the one with the man bun. Jason Levesque, I think is how you pronounce his name. And the victim, his name is Kyle Violette or something like that. So, okay. Just a quick little side note update from yesterday, because the last that I talked to you guys when we hung up the phone yesterday was that I was going to go for a walk. Well, me and husband loaded up the kids and we went up the road, not even a mile. There's a little church that has has a cemetery. You know, most churches have cemeteries, and I know this is creepy, but that's where we walk. When we do exercise walk, that's where we go, because it's literally right up the road, and it's pavement, and they have a little walkway that goes around the property. So that's where we walk. And I went, because I don't like going by myself, because, people are weird and try to kidnap people. I mean, we watch enough true crime to know you never go anywhere alone, right? But anyhow, I can just see the headlines now. Woman goes missing from her daily exercise. Anyway, so husband went with me, and of course then we had to take the kids. So I told him, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I might walk for 5 minutes and be done. My back is out of shape. So I made it 2 laps. And I can't even really tell you. I think 4 laps is a mile. I could be wrong on that. I need to, because we drove it once before. Because you can drive on that same path, We drove it once before and figured out how many laps was a mile, but now I don't remember. Anyway, I made 2 laps. It wasn't very far. Maybe it was between a quarter and a half a mile. I don't know. But I didn't go very far, and I had to stop multiple times. Lean on a headstone. So I'm I don't know who you are, but thank you for being my shoulder to lean on right now, because I was dying. But anyway, yeah. So we'll see how today goes. Husband's like, you gonna be ready to go back tomorrow? I was like, I don't know. What, baby? And she wants to go on a picnic today. So we'll have to make today's trial watching fast and furious, so we need to get on the ball. This happened in the town you were born in, Donnie? Ew, weird. Weird. We took our snow plowing very seriously. Her crime cafe family urgently asked for any information related to her disappearance. Right, I know. Oh my God. Yay. Okay, so we're going to get watching. I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
So loud. rise, jury entering.
Bring the jury. Bring the jury out. Bring the jury out. Bring them on out. I'm gonna have to go grab a cup of coffee here momentarily as soon as this gets started.
Please be seated. All right, thank you, folks. Hope you all had an enjoyable lunch. Thank you for being on time coming back. We are ready to proceed with opening statements. State whenever you're ready. Thank you, Your Honor. Jason Levesque is guilty of attempted murder and first-degree assault. For firing 6 rounds of 9mm ammunition into Kyle Violette's body. This in response to Kyle warning, if you take Jason's term, a threat not to put snow in front of Kyle's driveway. That the defendant responded to Kyle's words with lethal, deadly violence, responded to a hollow threat over pettiness, a petty grievance with that kind of violence is the crime here. Let me be a little bit more specific about this criminal act. After Kyle said his words, even a threat, he stepped away. And the defendant brought out a firearm and pointed it at Kyle. Kyle could clearly see the firearm. There's no lighting issue, no lighting problem. The headlights of the vehicle were on, street lights were on, house lights were on. The weapon was clearly visible to Kyle, and he responded. He responded by turning away from the defendant, back towards his home. And as he turned away, from about 10, 15 feet away, the defendant fired. First round ripped through Kyle's jaw, his face, breaking both mandibles.
Lord, he was aiming for his whole
carotid
head.
artery. And it caused him to immediately drop to the ground, facing away from the defendant, now facing towards his home. And after that first shot, it's about a 5-second pause, a delay, where the defendant advanced on him, walked towards him. Kyle is literally crawling on his hands and knees, on his belly, leaving a blood smear across the road diagonally towards his house. And the defendant opened fire. 5 more shots into the back part of his body, into the side of his body as he jerked and twisted on the ground, crawling away to try and get to safety.
That's awful.
That's the
Lord.
criminal act. Each of those 6 bullets caused either maiming or potentially lethal or actually life-threatening injuries. Kyle Violette lived by sheer luck and the immediate intervention of some very sophisticated and effective medical care. First, from
By sheer luck, I'm sorry, dude. I gotta say, by the grace of God. That's not luck. That's mercy.
an officer who was highly trained in the military responded within minutes and helped stem the bleeding. an EMT with heightened training, a paramedic, took over from there. 3 separate hospitals, Frisbee, then transferred to Portsmouth, then transferred to Boston for the intensive medical intervention that was required, is what saved Kyle's life. And so, to be clear about this, the evidence will show Kyle didn't die for his lack of trying, but because of medical intervention. Let me talk then, just briefly, summarize this issue. The evidence will show that no, there was absolutely nothing to justify what was nearly an execution in the street out in front of Kyle's home. That's because the defendant wasn't responding to a reasonable belief, reasonable evidence that Kyle was about to imminently use deadly force against him. And let me be clear, this proposition, this law, will come from the judge, not me, and it's not merely legalese, some hyper-technical statement, we gotcha for this action. This is a principle, a guardrail that we all live by, that restrains violence in our community, in our state, and should have in this case.
Woo, Morgana, 7 months.
Retribution. Getting angry.
Thank you, friend. Member for 7 months, my membership milestone. Chat. I love that. Yes, I'm still here. Love you, friends. Love you. Hold on. Here we go. And one of these. God, I love that so much. Oh, look, Donnie too. Member for 6 months. Wow. That's so cool. You guys are awesome. Thank you for using those. Those are always so cool. Those are fun. Fun, fun, fun. Here, let me give Donnie a little sparkle too. All right, here we go.
Angry about somebody's scary words.
Thank you, Miss Donnie.
Is not the same thing as self-defense. That is another guiding principle in this particular case. You're going to hear more specifically about these words. And these words are unsettling according to Jason. Jason has claimed that Kyle came out angry. Angry about where Kyle expected Jason to plow, push, deposit a pile of snow. And according to Jason, Kyle used offensive, threatening, and scary language. Bear with me, I'll quote Jason's claim. This, he claims, was verbatim. If you leave that fucking snow in front of my fucking driveway again, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Murr! Wow.
That's what Jason claims he said. But in this fleeting, and I mean the confrontation that starts this is about 3 to 4 seconds of these words. In that confrontation, Kyle was never armed. He never appeared to be armed. He never brandished a weapon. Never hinted that he had a weapon or claimed that he had a weapon. there was no imminent threat of actual deadly force married to, even if you accept those horrible words. Those are the core issues. Those acts of coming up behind him, standing over him while he's on the ground, having shot him in the face, and putting 5 additional rounds into his body, in contrast to the facts about what he was actually facing. That's this case. And let me now, if I could, talk to you about some background and some more detail about how it is we got here. He just went out to their homes. They had been neighbors for about a year and a half. As I mentioned, I think in the previous statement, that the Violettes lived at 43, the one as you face the houses to the left. Kyle, yes, the victim, lived there with his partner of some 22 years, Angela, and Kendra, who was 17 at the time. His daughter kind of split some time for educational reasons, and a son who need not be named here because he didn't witness anything. Next door, 41, the Levesques. Jason's parents lived downstairs, and Jason lived with his daughter, Kira, 19 at the time, in the building, in the home to the right as you face it from the street. And we heard a little bit about this, that on April 4th of 2024, last year, we got a doozy, a snowstorm, some 18 inches, the heavy wet stuff. Big deal, right? Well, Jason was out plowing. It's one of the jobs he had. He plowed all day. He had essentially been plowing for about 24 hours, working for about 24 hours. And he stopped on the way home to pick up his daughter, who was working at a local pizza place, 9:30, 10 o'clock, to bring her home. And when he arrived home with Kira still in the vehicle in the passenger seat, he did a couple of runs in front of the house with his plow. He first went up the street, did a run across and removed some snow in front of his driveway, and then he turned around and did probably 3 or 4 runs towards Kyle's home, towards 43. And it created a pile of snow next to that telephone pole that was pointed out to you, all right? But while this was going on, while Jason was plowing, Kyle's looking out the window, that bay window that we pointed out, and he sees the plowing activity going on, and he sees the pile of snow by the pole, and he sees the defendant, Jason, stop his truck, which is an older style big rig plow, where in order to put it in 4-wheel drive, he's got to get out and manually turn a switch on the front wheels. And so there's this brake in the plow. He knows, Kyle knows, that Jason is going to go down the driveway and back plow more snow out. And based on the last snowstorm, where he put it in front of his driveway and he had to deal with it, he was angry. He anticipated that Jason was going to push the whole pile because it had been set up and cleared in front of his driveway. And he was going to have to get out there and basically do it himself. And so he goes outside. We see this on video based on this prior incident where he had, in fact, asked him, hey, can you move this stuff? Here, according to Kira, his daughter, who was interviewed, her account of it was, yeah, they asked us to move it last time, but we didn't do it. After all, snow melts. And that didn't sit well with Kyle. So he goes out and to confront Jason about this situation. And here he goes. We can see him in the video, walking out rapidly, putting on a hoodie as he goes. You can see from there, he's not armed, other than being angry. You can see by maybe his pace, he's annoyed. And all of a sudden, because he's gone out, Angela and Kendall, the Violette daughter, look out that bay window too and watch much of this go down. And as Kyle walks out putting on his hoodie, he approaches Jason, who's at the truck. He's kneeled down by that hubcap, behind the plow, but just in front of his door. His daughter remains in the car, briefly steps out. And here's the thing, as Kyle approaches, his hands are out. And Jason admits he can see his hands, and he's not armed. And on the walk over, he makes no gesture like that he's packing anything. His hands are visible. And he approaches, and according to Jason, Kyle makes this claim. If you put that fucking snow on my property, I'm going to fucking kill you and your family. That exchange is face to face, right at the plow. You'll be able to see it from multiple angles. During that 3-second encounter, Kyle doesn't display a weapon, doesn't hint he has a weapon, doesn't claim he has a weapon. If you put that, I'm going to use this, that, or any other weapon to carry out this threat. It's words. After this 3 to 5 second exchange, you time it, judge it for yourself, it's on video. Kyle walks away. He steps about 15 feet back. You can kind of assess that measurement because from the back driveway forward, just past that evergreen, you'll see Kyle still in view from all the way back of the driveway of 41. And so if you took kind of an eyeball measurement, it's about 15 feet from the corner of that fence to the angle of the evergreen. And that's about where he's standing. And you can see him in the video gesturing to the snow. That driveway, my driveway, and he's doing that kind of gesturing. The video, audio doesn't quite pick it up, but you know he's talking about snow not going over there. And at some point during this pointing and gesturing, he stops and walks back towards his house, kind of pacing. He's certainly agitated. But he then takes a turn back. He walks probably 4 steps back towards Jason, still kind of gesturing. Still, no weapons visible, nothing to suggest he was armed, that he obtained a weapon, that he was holding a weapon, that he claimed he had a weapon. And as he walks back, he reaches a distance of approximately 15 feet away from Jason. And it's at this point that Jason steps away from his truck and forward, closes the distance to him slightly, and raises his firearm and points it out. He brandishes it. And guess what? It did what you would hope it would do. Kyle stops. You can clearly see that right at the edge of that pine tree. You can see him emerge and then step back. And it's at this point, there's a pause between brandishing the firearm because there's sufficient distance that nothing happens. Not long, but enough to see Kyle stop and turn away. He has been warned. He's received the warning, and he's responded appropriately. He's turned away. But from this two-hand stance, despite Kyle stopping, despite him turning back to his home, Jason Levesque fires. I told you it strikes him in the face, penetrates from the left to the right, smashing through his jaw, his teeth. lodging next to his carotid artery. He goes down. And you'll have a sense of where he goes down, not from the videos, but from body cam of police officers showing up. You'll be able to see various sweeps of body cam the blood distribution on the ground, where it starts, just the other side of that white line, and it drags diagonally towards Kyle's home. Kyle's clearly on the ground now, obviously incapacitated. He's not getting up, he's not bum rushing the defendant. He's on the ground now with a very serious injury. The hemorrhaging is going into his throat. Later has to be cleared by EMTs. They have to literally turn his body on its side to drain his throat. And yet, the collection of videos will show that despite this situation, Jason advances, takes multiple steps towards him. As he's on the ground, he's beginning to crawl on his belly, his hands and knees. You see these videos where he unloads 5 more rounds. All of them striking his body. Kyle is able to crawl, I don't know, 10 more feet. Right about at that pole on the sidewalk. So he's come off the road at an angle, and he basically curls up. And I told you that Kendra and Angela were watching from Violette's window. They obviously, when they see the first shot, they start rushing out. And they meet him as he, on the ground. And everybody starts calling 911. And Angela, Kendra, other neighbors who have heard these rounds go off. And I don't know if you noticed how close this address on Summer Street is to Rochester PD. We'll hear testimony about it if you didn't, but it's just around the corner. And Rochester PD responds with multiple units in minutes. They get there. And here's where the paths from this event, for Kyle, Violette, and Jason Levesque, deviate. We've heard about this awful intersection. Now they split. And here's what happens with Kyle. He is launched on the path of a medical odyssey that has an ending. And I want to be clear about this. You will see evidence, graphic evidence of these injuries. You'll see body cam images of treatment. You'll see photos from the hospital, and you'll hear detailed accounts. And I want to assure you that the reason is not shock and awe to offend you, to provoke you to reach a certain verdict, to trigger your passions. It's this. This medical evidence is relevant to show, to prove his deadly intent. The repetition, the location, the nature of a 9mm bullet ripping through somebody's body is relevant to show intent to kill. That's why it's coming in, and it will come in. And so let me just foreshadow this. You will see and hear from a guy named Sergeant Hurley, Williams Hurley, who's a combat medic overseas and has some real specialized training in triaging on the street. He's doing his thing. He cuts Kyle's clothes off. He is identifying gunshot wounds and doing compression bandages to stem the flow. He's the one who realizes he's literally choking on his blood and tips him over to drain his throat. He's the one who takes over on the scene. And the next person who arrives is this EMT, an actual paramedic, also with prior military and intensive training in acute trauma and triage. And she makes the decision, this guy needs to leave and leave now. Hurley says, if things didn't happen quickly, this man is going to die. And so they take him from the scene rapidly in a ambulance to the closest facility, a community hospital, perhaps most of you are familiar with, Frisbee Memorial. And there a guy named Dr. Freeze starts to perform medical services as well. He does a quick assessment of these gunshot wounds. They do some things there, primarily pumping in enormous amounts of blood. But they quickly reach the conclusion that these are life-threatening injuries, that there are diffuse bullet fragments through the body, that there are injuries, candidly, that they're not capable or confident about addressing. So they immediately, or very quickly, emergency evacuate him to our community higher level of care facility, which is Portsmouth. At Portsmouth, another doctor takes over, and in similar fashion, they assess, they do a surgery. I told you about some of these injuries, the bullet going through his face, breaking his jaws, but also landing near and dissecting part of his carotid artery. That he's shot, I told you, from behind. 2 wounds are literally in his buttocks, his back, that go through and penetrate partially his pelvic area, and also one is suspected of rupturing his bowel. So they do kind of this emergency surgery at Portsmouth. Look, it's graphic, but one of the bullet literally just obliterates his left testicle. It causes serious hemorrhaging. They have to do surgery, remove it, and stem the bleeding.
Lord
they do
have
that
mercy.
at Portsmouth, but they
Lord have mercy.
quickly conclude that if he doesn't get more emergent care, he'll likely die there. So they medevac him to Boston, and you will hear the summary. I don't want to belabor these issues. I point them out to show the seriousness, not just of injury, but intent. And so you're going to hear more about the injury to the clavicle, to the abdomen, to the enormous amount of bleeding and damage that was done internally. And that's for you to assess, not just the criminal acts, the criminal intent in this case. That's pretty much Kyle's journey. He's in the hospital down in Boston for about a month, discharged to home in the condition he was, which you'll hear about. Jason, at the same time that I told you people were literally descending on Kyle's prone body to save his life, there's another part of the reaction from the police, not surprisingly, that focuses on Jason. So let's go back to that scene right after the shooting. He finishes up with 5 rounds into Jason's essentially back and side as he's twisting. And then he takes a gun and he walks away, walks back to his truck. You're going to hear evidence about Jason's path. It's a different path. It's one he takes where he attempts to evade accountability, escape responsibility by recasting Kyle's actions to sound like he engaged in imminent, deadly behavior, that he created an imminent threat to his life. But you're going to hear evidence in more detail in this regard. Let me first share with you that Kyle returns to his, Jason returns to his truck, which is still parked out in the street, the edge of the sidewalk. And his daughter's has returned, has gone. She was only briefly outside when this whole thing happened. She got back in the truck, understandably, and witnessed much of this. And she'll tell you that when Jason got back into the truck, he turns to her and says, "Should I run now?" He turns to his 19-year-old and says, "Should I run?" Not like, I defended myself, did what I had to do. It's, should I run? His daughter, his 19-year-old, turns to him and says, "No." He says, "Well, what should I do?" She says, "This is your path. I don't know. Should I call 911? I don't know what you should do." And so he pulls into, doesn't call 911, pulls into the driveway and waits. He certainly doesn't have to wait long. Sirens have been going on now, lights are on, it's around the corner. And the police come in and they do take him into custody. And he cooperates, seemingly, physically, sure. He puts the gun in the car, he steps out, he seems polite and cooperative.
Wow.
But here's what happens next. A guy named Detective Garston and Flathers take him back to Rochester PD. They take him up to an interview room. And they don't know what's going on yet. You know, when they first get on the scene, they don't even know who the shooter is or who's injured. They didn't see Kyle initially. He's you know, over by that pole. That's how kind of uninformed they are. And so they bring him back and just kind of say, well, tell us, you know, what happened. And he describes much of what we've already talked about. He says that, look, I'm plowing, I'm minding my own business, I'm in front of my home, and I'm with my daughter, and out comes my neighbor, and he, while I'm doing the four-wheel drive thing, he comes up and nose to nose, and he repeats this. He's very clear on that.
In comes Margaret, member for 7 months. I love it. Yay, 7 months. Thank you, Margaret. Oh, wow. It won't be long and it'll say 1 year. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Hold on, I got to give Margaret a little bit of some sparkle dust. And one of these. I didn't give one of those to Donnie a while ago. I owe Donnie one. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you, Miss Margaret.
Yes, that the threat is conditional. Hey, if you move this over there, I'm going to fucking kill you. There's no doubt that this was conditional, and from those are the words that were said. No doubt that they were unsettling and grossly inappropriate. But what he also told the police is, yeah, no, I didn't see a weapon. I didn't take out a weapon, and he didn't claim to have a weapon. But this is what he claims next. That Kyle turned away after that and walked back to his house. But then for whatever reason, he turned back and he looked really angry. He looked like he was going to come and fight me, had his fists on, and just the look in his eye, I knew he was going to attack me. Then he says, that's why I pulled the gun out. Okay, fair. By the way, legal. Well, what happened after you pulled the gun out? Did you go towards him? No, I never closed the distance. Well, what did he do? This is what he claimed. He quickened his pace. Kyle, once he saw the gun, started rushing at me. He quickened his pace. And I could tell in his eyes it was you or me. I could tell he was going to come over and take the gun. He was more aggressive. He was going to hurt me. He was going to take the gun. That's what he claimed to the police. This is after he pointed the gun at Kyle. That's the claim. And he continued to come at me in such an aggressive fashion that then I had to fire the gun. And he admits to shooting Jason. He said, I hit him. And after I fired the gun, Jason says, I turn around back towards my truck. But I look back, and Kyle, despite being hit, he's not even fazed. Hasn't flinched. He's now continuing after me again, and I feel frightened. I feel like he's going to attack me because he's still on his feet. Shot didn't seem to stop or hurt him. Might have flinched because of the noise. That's why I fired the rest of the shots, he says. I fired the shots into his lower body as he approached me, and only then did he turn and start walking towards his house, holding his abdomen, situation diffused, self-defense manifest. Here's the problem. While he's making that statement to the police about Kyle bum rushing him despite having a gun out, continuing to take an assaultive stance and attitude after being shot in the face, there's an investigation going on. The rest of the Rochester PD is back down at the scene, assessing evidence. You can see the crawling smear of blood, not standing, not walking, and more importantly,
Ugh.
they get surveillance tape. They
I
get
wonder if they'll
surveillance
show
tape
all the
in the middle
evidence
of
photos
this
and
interview
videos.
with Jason. And somewhere in the middle of this interview, detectives Garston and Flathers are actually informed. They take a break and they go out. And what do they see? They see one of the videos from 43 that catches it. They also police have also obtained the driveway video from 41 that goes from the back, that shed out. They obtained the video from the corner, high corner down into the driveway. They obtained the video from the porch, and they obtained the video from 43. Pretty much a panorama. They also obtained a video from 38 down the street that just captures audio, that 5-second pause between shot 1 and 2. But here's the deal. None of these videos are perfect, but together with the scene and the interlocking nature of it, here's what you can absolutely see, is that Kyle comes out, just as Jason.
Morgana. Ma'am? You guys, we have a little bit of a jokester in the chat. Look at what this heifer just did and sent me. She says, "Hey y'all," she's in the moderator chat. She said, "Hey y'all, I was just getting a carton of milk from the cafeteria and look what I saw." That's a picture. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Look. That's me. It's super fuzzy, I know. But that's me. She took a screenshot of me when I was showing somebody my CPAP machine mask. So that's me putting a CPAP machine mask on. Yeah. It says, last seen strolling with... Oh my God. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. It says, last seen... Last seen strolling with her family in the graveyard of her small country town. Her family says she was carrying her travel mug filled with coffee, wearing 2 pairs of glasses and clutching her back while leaning on a headstone. She is, Miss King. She's worried about me getting kidnapped on my walk. Lord have mercy. Margaret said that's everywhere. Milk cartons on every milk carton everywhere. Oh my God. I'm going to have to print that out and put that. Yeah. Couldn't believe the phone number on it either. Hold on. I missed that. Let me see. Call 1-800-867-5309. Oh my God, that's the best. Oh, Ganna's got jokes. Oh my God. Wait till I show that to Dale. He'll crack up. God. What would have been better? That was perfect. But what would have been better is if instead of a CPAP machine mask, it would have been like an oxygen mask. Because I was sure huffing and puffing. But anyway. Oh, Michaela helped. Tell her I said thank you. That's super funny. God. Now I know. Whenever Morgana's being quiet, she's up to something. She's up to something. Oh, and by the way, let me just say, you guys, I know Morgana's going to like thwart me in the head for saying this, but, yeah, like Jolie, right, Margaret? Like a little kid that's been in the room and it's too quiet, right? No, she thinks you're mad at her now. No. No. But listen to this. So, you guys know that a while back, Miss Morgana Banana had a surgery, right? And, I'm not going to go into the details because I haven't asked her if I could. However, she did have a little something removed. I mean, that's what happens in surgery, right? And then she received word today that all is good in the hood. So, praise God for that. We love our Morgana. We love our Morgana Banana. Those kind of waits for information can be brutal. So, anyway, we're very thankful and happy. So, all right, let's get back to this dude who is not so thankful and happy.
And says, and they're nose to nose for a very brief period of time, a couple of seconds. You can't hear this audio of their account, which is notable because it captures, for instance, the discharge of the firearm.
Hey, Patricia.
So whatever's being said isn't being said at such a volume that the audio.
Gail,
can
did
pick
I
it up.
see you? I don't think I've
And
seen you.
yet you see Kyle
Hi,
walk
Gail.
away after this nose-to-nose encounter, gesturing at the snow, and he walks further towards his house, and he turns and takes several steps back, and then Jason steps away from his vehicle with a firearm and advances 1-2 steps towards Kyle. He pulls the gun, and what do you see? You see him charging
You
towards
little
him,
lurker.
continuing to, attack an armed man now? No. You see Kyle stop cold in his tracks. There is a pause. Tick-tock. Nobody
Tick-tock.
moves. Kyle then moves and clearly turns away,
Did he really just say
back
that?
towards his house.
Tick-tock.
And that is when you can see in one video a muzzle flash, and hear the firearm, and see Kyle go to the ground. The brandishing worked. It's visible in the video. The first shot fully incapacitates him. He drops to the ground. He's on his side. He takes additional shots. You can see the defendant advance towards him some 3, 4, 5 steps, aim over him from behind into his back, his buttocks, his testicle, his abdomen, his shoulder, all shot. He never got up, never advanced, as Jason claimed to police. And so the injuries are what I described them to be. The videos show something very, very different than what Jason claimed to the police, to create circumstances that would justify this kind of behavior. The defense has taken these videos and they've sort of put them together in what they term as an enhancement. I'm going to ask you to carefully look at each one of these videos as they're introduced into evidence, and when you have an opportunity back there to really take a look at even shadow movements confirming that he stopped and turned. The tree, seeing just him coming forward and then turning and stepping back. These reference points all come together to show that this shooting was absolutely unnecessary and wholly unjustified. And so now we reach a different point in this path. They intersect again. Kyle and Jason's paths intersect here. And it may sound corny, but this intersection is called justice. The direction you take forward on this path, because it's now primarily your path to take, will be determined by the evidence, the law, and your common sense. You apply these principles, these values, and to not just the expectations, but the requirements on the street of how we deal with threats, with words. We'll ask you at the end of this case to find that this shooting was attempted murder and a horrible assault that was criminal. Further ask that you not let this process confuse the notion of violent and deadly retribution, reaction with self-defense. Speaking angry words, without the deadly means to actually cause imminent deadly force are two different things. Brandishing the firearm in this case worked, stopped him for all these reasons. We're going to come back at the end of this case and ask you to apply those 3 principles: the law, the evidence, and your common sense, and return verdicts, just verdicts, guilty.
Thank you, counsel. Attorney Sisti? You may.
All right, now they're going to go to a little bit of a sidebar. I hope they don't have long sidebars. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like this prosecutor. I like him, I think. We'll see as the trial goes. We'll find out. Looks like they go to a little bit of a break because
So I'd like to make it short, so I want to keep on track. So 5 minutes, we'll be back here to resume with the defense.
oh, okay, just 5 minutes.
Thank you all. The jury, please be let out.
Just 5 minutes. Let me scroll. That way. Okay.
Please rise to re-enter.
The defendant kind of puts me in the mind of someone that I know who is also not a very good guy, but anyway.
Please be seated.
Well, did it have to be like a prerequisite for the dude's attorney to also have a ponytail?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. We have a few things to say. Let me say that was quite an opening. Interesting. Barely touches on what took place on April 4th, 2024. It touches it. Let me start by saying just a few things, okay? Let me lay it down here for you in a very basic, common sense, everybody knows fashion. You know, there's a saying that goes around. It goes around in New Hampshire quite a bit. You don't mess with a mama bear's cubs. You ever hear that? It's bad news. You do that. Let me tell you something else you don't do. You don't mess with a father's daughter's life. You don't threaten a father's daughter's life. You don't threaten a son's elderly parents, and you don't threaten Jason. And even Kyle should have known that. And you know what? He did know that. But what was Kyle? What was Kyle? Kyle was a man who had a heart that was full of hate. He had a brain that was bathed in rage. And he had a mouth that was spewing venom on the evening of April 4th, 2024. And to sugarcoat what went on that evening, a little after 10 o'clock p.m., and say it was a petty, conditional threat is the understatement of this decade. What happened that night, ladies and gentlemen, I will give you some matter. I will tell you what happened. And you will understand why somebody like Jason, protecting himself, his daughter, and his family, was pushed into a position where he reasonably believed that serious bodily injury or death was about to take place. And when that happens in this state, folks, the judge is going to tell you, you get to use deadly force. And that's exactly what Jason did. Kyle got what he deserved. And any reasonable human being that acted like Kyle should have expected to get the same. Should have expected to get the same. And anybody in the position that Jason Levesque was in can certainly utilize deadly force. You do not, ladies and gentlemen, have to stand back and wait for a screwdriver to get stuck inside you, or a sucker punch to the throat, or who knows what's in his pocket to decide that you're going to use a firearm. That's not the rule. Never has been in this state. Never will be. You know, we all reasonably believe that we know what's going on in the cool, quiet confines, hours or days or months away from an event. But this happened seconds. This happened quickly. This happened where you don't get to roll it over in your mind. This happened where you don't get to frisk his pants and see if he has something in it, or his jacket. This happens, and it happened that night when a raging maniac, out of nowhere and for no good reason, was threatening the life of Jason and his family. Now that's the context that we're talking about. Not some petty, conditional threat. We're talking about a death threat. And when you reasonably believe that somebody is talking serious to you, you get to react serious. And that's the law. That is the law. Whether it be 1 bullet, 6 bullets, or 20 bullets, you get to utilize them. I'll give you a little aside, by the way. Kyle wasn't straight with the police. Kyle wasn't straight with the police. The police and the prosecution have been hoodwinked by him. He didn't tell them, hey,
Hey,
I
Ween baby.
angrily confronted Jason.
Hey, Ween baby. And P. Lola. Hey, P. Lola. We were here yesterday, P. Lola. Yeah, we were here yesterday. I did miss Monday, but we were here yesterday. Hi, friends. Donnie says it's the live free or die state. Yeesh. His hair is an understatement, right, Ween baby? I'm glad you guys joined. Hi.
Jason Levesque.
Objection.
Oof. They have some odd folks, huh? Do they now? Check out the defendant's hair. Looks like mine most days. Excuse me. Okie dokie, Margaret. Have a good day, baby. See you later, Tater. Okay, looks like they're going to have long sidebars. I can't stand that. Okay, I think they're almost done. I like that attorney's ponytail. Not the old man, but the young woman. Just to be clear.
Kyle, you heard what the prosecutor said about Jason and what he heard? You heard a lot more. You heard a lot more. Kyle didn't say that he was going to fucking kill Jason's family. I want you at the end of this case to see who was straight and who wasn't straight. Okay? That's for you folks to judge. You're going to judge the night of April 4th, 2024 on the videos and on the testimony. But let me tell you about that night. Let me tell you about the 24 hours before this took place. The 24 hours before this took place, Jason Levesque was working hard, 24 hours in a row. plowing snow, hitting all of his accounts in Rochester over and over again. It was a continuous snowstorm, cycling through and clearing all night long, and all day long, working hard. The last thing he ever wanted to do was have a confrontation with an enraged maniac coming out of his house. And you're going to see the video. It's not some calm guy strolling over to Jason Levesque saying, please, don't put snow on my driveway. That's not what you're going to see. You're going to see Jason Levesque finally getting home after 24 hours, finally trying to get inside the house with the daughter that he's raised, finally trying to get inside the house where his elderly parents lived, and by the way, where his 5-year-old nephew was that night, so that he could finally get some sleep after working for 24 hours. You're going to see Jason Levesque get out of his truck after making a couple of moves with the plow. And this is kind of important, like real important, because you're going to see the driveway, Kyle's driveway, unmolested by Jason. Jason didn't dump one flake of snow.
Did he say unmolested?
Nothing.
The driveway?
You're going to see
Did
Kyle
I hear that right?
quickly moving out of his apartment, his residence, and be the initial aggressor in this entire scenario. He wanted nothing to do with him, and he didn't even see him coming. Jason's minding his own business. Jason's there with his daughter. Jason's there with his daughter that was also working that night. Jason's trying to get his daughter safely back into the house, when an enraged individual, unannounced for no reason, comes right up to Jason. And folks, the description of face-to-face doesn't even get close. Kyle literally, when you see this video, Kyle literally sticks his nose right into the cheek of Jason. And we contend as he's doing that, as he is having actual physical contact, you say face to face, how about face on face that he initiated, is threatening his life, threatening his daughter's life, threatening his family's life. He doesn't even know why. Jason hasn't done anything. And you're going to see that he hasn't done anything. The one thing on that video that is crystal clear is that Jason's done nothing. Nothing. Nothing to even deserve a "I'm going to fucking kill your family," like the prosecutor said. Not even that. But quite frankly, you'd interpret it, and any reasonable person would interpret, that Kyle was out of his mind. That he was acting beyond stupid. That you couldn't predict what he was going to do, because the initial act itself was unpredictable. It was without reason. There's no foundation for what he was doing. Screaming and threatening when Jason did nothing. Nothing. Nothing worthy of a complaint. But instead of a complaint, a death threat. That's what you're getting. That's what starts all this. But it just doesn't end. Now, is it a quick event? Yeah, it's a quick event. Is it a violent event? Of course it's a violent event. That's what we're doing here. Who started it? I'm going to ask you at the end of this case. Who was the initial aggressor? Who threatened the life of another individual? Who could reasonably believe that the threat could have been actually executed, carried out, where serious bodily injury could have taken place, or death? Can you come to the conclusion that deadly force was utilized reasonably? Yes. But the interesting question, and the legal question that's going to be placed before you, is that can the prosecution eliminate self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt? That means, can you, after placing yourself or somebody in the position that Jason was in, eliminate beyond a reasonable doubt the need for deadly force? I'm going to ask you at the end of this case to answer that question. And I'm going to ask you to say, no way did they disprove beyond a reasonable doubt that self-defense should not have been utilized. You know, nobody wants to be in that position that Jason was in. Nobody wants to be in a position where you have to use lethal force. Nobody. But you do get pushed up against the wall sometimes. And that's what happened in Rochester last year. And when he got up in the morning on the 23rd of October and was called into work to go over and over and over and plow for hour after hour after hour, he never, ever expected anything like that tirade that took place that evening. It's inexcusable. Was Kyle shot? Was he shot multiple times? Were there heroic medical procedures that were pursued? Yes, there were. That's not the case. That's not the prosecution's main point. I'll give you a little aside. Maybe you didn't hear. I'm open. If Jason wanted to kill him, he could have that night. A little fun fact for you. He had another magazine with him. He could have just popped it in the 9mm and emptied that to him. He didn't want anything to do with it. He didn't try to escape. He stayed right there in the driveway of his own home, waiting for the police to arrive. No attempt to evade at all. That's a fact. And you're going to find that fact. You don't have to sit around and imagine evasion of the police, or attempting to escape. It never happened. Waited for the police, took the firearm, kept it inside the truck. When he saw the police, he got out of the truck, cooperated 100% with them. Told them where the firearm was, went to the police station. Evading the police. I mean, I would argue that he was still in shock, but he sure wasn't evading the police. That's a heck of a lot of 15 seconds of activity that he just went through. Evading the police, he went to the police station, sat down with the police, Did he lawyer up? Did he say, I'm not going to talk to you, I'm a lawyer? No. Did he go through a long discussion with him? Yeah. And let me give you another little side fact. He offered his video film from his cameras to the police. Yeah. This guy, the video film we're talking about, he offered to the police. It wasn't some grand investigation. And he spoke to him. And he told him he was threatened. And he told him that his family was threatened. And he told him that he shot Kyle. He told him all those things. And was he scared? Yep. And was it Kyle's intent to scare the hell out of him? Yep. And did Kyle succeed in doing that? Yep. And did Kyle succeed in convincing him that he was in danger? Yep. I'm going to ask you to imagine at the end of this case, going home after a long day's work, and out of nowhere, having somebody confront you, screaming and enraged, and threatening your family out of nowhere. And I'm going to ask you at the end of this case, just how long your blood pressure and your heart rate would be elevated after that. And what was going on in your head after that. And how you would react after that. Because that's what it comes down to. Because the true test, when we get down to self-defense, has to do with reasonableness. And it's an interesting instruction you're going to get. And I'll give you some of it. The judge is going to give it all. Did Jason actually believe that the other person was about to use unlawful, deadly force against him? Now let me just stop there. If somebody says they're going to kill you and kill your family, you can come to that conclusion. Did he actually believe? Did he actually believe that he was in danger of death or serious bodily injury? Roll that over. There's some interesting aspects of self-defense. And it can't be analyzed, like I said, in some Spartan lab after the fact. It has to be analyzed as if you're living through the same events as the individual that is asserting the self-defense. So you got to live in the shoes of Jason. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those. Cooperated with the police. And yet, his path was different than a medical path, no question. His path is one of defending himself in the court of law and forcing the prosecution to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And he has no burden. We all know that. He doesn't have to produce anything. We know that. But as we move through the case, you'll see things will be produced on the part of Jason Levesque. Now the videos, they're not going to tell the whole story. I'm afraid we don't have a beginning to the end. And I'm afraid that you don't have audio, because I wish you did. If you had audio, I would assert you would have heard multiple threats from Kyle against Jason. That he turned back more than once and threatened to kill him and his daughter. If you had audio, that would have been a really great gift for you. You would have understood it even better. But you can just imagine and reasonably come to the conclusion that Kyle didn't just turn around and walk back to his house and tuck himself in for the evening. He just couldn't give up on Jason. He'd walk back, turn around, he'd shout out some more threats. Turn around, walk back, shout out some more threats. Taunting, threatening, continuously. That's what Jason was doing. It wasn't a good night. It was terrible. Terrible night for both of us. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in some of this stuff. I understand the magical medical procedures. Understand the life-threatening wounds. Understand all of that. That goes with this turf. But in the end, the bottom line is going to have to be this. As the prosecution disproved self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. And as you go through this trial, I'm going to ask you to filter that, all the facts through that legal principle. Filter it. And ask yourself, if and when Kyle takes the stand, do you trust him? Do you trust him? Is he giving you the full story? Or is he giving you the petty little argument that was referred to in opening? Pay particular attention to all of the circumstances in this case, because if you do, at the end of this case, you will come to the ultimate conclusion. You will come to the ultimate conclusion that Jason Levesque acted in self-defense. That a reasonable person in his position would have perceived that he was in danger of death or serious bodily injury. So again, thank you for sitting in on this. You're going to see graphic images. You're going to see medical stuff. You're going to see all kinds of stuff in this case. But please keep an open mind. I'm begging. Because if you keep an open mind, you're going to give us a just result. And the just result in this case is going to be not guilty. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, counsel.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, please.
Pilola, honey, have I missed a comment? I don't know what you're talking about, Pilola. Pilola says the neighborhood is freaking. The husband and wife were airlifted and are critical. They have small children. Thank goodness they weren't harmed. I don't know. Did you make another comment that like YouTube didn't let go through before that? Because I don't know what that's in reference to. Prayers for whoever's you're talking about, though. That sounds awful. Awful, awful. Hold on, my computer's being laggy. Trying to zoom. Here we go. Okay.
Two things, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to instruct you, as I told you previously, at the end of this case, I'm going to instruct you on what the law is and what the legal standards are. That will include a full instruction from the court on what constitutes self-defense and what that legal standard is exactly. So while both counsel presented to you arguments about what they anticipate and what they...
Oh, okay, Pilo, look. Can you put it back in again? Do you mean in this case? Or what case? Oh, this week in your hometown. Oh my goodness. In your own neighborhood? Lord, Lord, Lord. People are crazy everywhere, man. Awful, awful.
believe the court will issue for instruction. I advise you that at the end of this case, you will get a full instruction from the court as to what self-defense is, and you're to rely upon my instructions as to what the law of self-defense is. That's for the court to do, not for the parties to understand that. Second is, even though we just took a break a little while ago, we're going to take another short recess, just to give you a chance to stretch your legs until we can set up some technology. So we're going to take a hopefully 5 to 10 minute recess, and we'll be back on track after. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Hey, Cherie. Hello, darling. Oh, Pilola says this case that we're watching made me think of how crazy people are, right? I know it.
I suppose I just have one question. Sure. As we're setting up the technology on your television, do you want us to try and ensure that this will use the bench, or are you planning on getting down? I know it's sort of awkward.
Where are we planning on putting it?
Ideally, it would be essentially right here. I know that that makes it difficult for you to
Where's
see.
the defense? Where's
It does.
Okay, they took a quick break.
Okay. We think that's going to work okay? In terms of the television?
I believe so, Your Honor. It may just require some coordination between you and the witness, because both of you will be standing down here.
Right.
Attorney Brown and I did test it. Jurors are able to see it from all spots that they're sitting in.
Okay,
So,
very good.
if you're comfortable with this?
How soon into the first witness's testimony do we anticipate the videos coming in?
5,
Okay. All right, so I'll probably start out, I'm going to start out up here, and when you get to the video part, I'll probably move. Good from seeing the. If we could pull it back forward, everyone. You did say that very bold. That's fine. Ready for the hearing? Good. Very good. Let's proceed.
I think he said he told them to pull the TV out where the cameraman could also see. Nice. Thank you for that, Judge.
Yes, please bring them.
We're about ready to start. The same one work correctly.
So I'm just going to give the fair little trigger warning in case they do show the images of the victim on the screen. Just a fair warning. But keep in mind that this victim, this case that we're watching is an attempted murder trial. So the victim didn't die, thank God. It's like we talked about earlier, it's not very often that we get to see trials where the victim, survives. So that's nice.
Your Honor, the state calls Kendra Violette.
Okay. Come on down this way, ma'am.
Good Lord, she's got some long, beautiful hair. Look at that.
Just remain standing for a moment. Raise your right hand. Swear that any testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under pain of penalties of perjury. All right. You should be seated right there. Do me a favor, just kind of scoot forward so you're close to the microphone and try to put your voice up so everybody can hear you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Counsel, when you're ready, you can inquire.
Appreciate it. Can you state your name and spell your name for the court reporter,
Yes,
please?
I'm Kendra Violette, and it's Kyndra.
And would you mind spelling your last
Yes,
name
of
for her as well?
course. Violette.
Where do you live right now?
I live at 277 Chestnut Hill Road with my grandmother.
And is there another address that you call home as well?
Yes, 43 Summer Street on the weekends and my vacation time.
All right. Tell me a little bit about that. You said you lived at a specific address with your grandmother. What town is that in?
It's in Farmington. I go there because I've proceeded school there ever since I was in 4th grade, and we've lived with her for like 5 years.
In order to facilitate your education in the
Yes.
school.
Yes,
People you've met there, friends in the Farmington school system?
yes,
No teachers in that school system as well?
yes,
At some point while you were living in Farmington, were you living up there also with your parents?
yes.
And can you just tell us, if it's not obvious, who are your parents?
My parents are Angie LaChance and Kyle Violet.
And so was there a time when Angela and Kyle moved to that address in Rochester that you just talked about?
Yes,
And in order not to switch schools, you stayed with your grandma?
yes.
And can I ask, who else do you live with? Who else is in your family?
The only other person I live with is my brother.
Okay. And does he also do the same?
He does,
gig
yes.
back and forth?
Yes,
All right. You mentioned you're doing this because of school.
yes.
Are you still in school?
I am, yes.
What grade are you?
I'm a senior.
What age does that put you at?
I'm 18, so 12th grade.
Okay. How do you like school?
I love school. I have all A's and B's right now.
Nice. What do you love about it? What kinds of things do you study?
Probably just the education and friends.
And do you have any kind of plan? It sounds like you're graduating this year.
I do. I started early college classes for social working, and I'm going to continue that in the summer as well.
Is that the social work
Yes.
education, is that local? Are you still going to be around?
Yes, I am. It's through Great Bay Community College.
Understood.
Yes.
Then if I could move attention and focus attention to the address in Rochester. It's 43 Summer Street.
Yes, it is.
Can you describe for us a little bit about the interior? You know, we went out there, took a look at the place from outside. We didn't go in. Can you
Of
just
course.
kind of give us a rough breakdown of how people are situated living in there?
Are you talking about like the living or like the layout of the house?
Let's start with living, and I'd like to do it from the time frame of April of last year.
Okay. So like what happened that day?
No, just before we get there, kind of fill in who lived there and where the rooming situation
Yeah, of
was.
course.
Yeah, she
So,
does seem like a sweet
in that
girl.
house at that time, it was my other grandmother living in the front studio apartment, and then there was a split house, and it was me, my mom, my dad, and my brother in there. And during that time, we all have different rooms upstairs. Downstairs is like the living room, just where everybody hangs out, but upstairs is where our rooms are.
And I don't want to bring up more sensitive issues for you, but I understand your grandmother who lived in the front unit has since passed away.
Yes.
Okay. And so, but at the time, when your grandmother lived out front, you on the weekends and other times would live and have a room at 43.
Yes.
Where was that room?
My
Upstairs?
room was upstairs. It was in the middle of my brother's and my parents' room.
And then let's again go back to April or last year. In addition to going to school and going back and forth, were you doing anything else? Were you working, for instance?
Yes, I have been working at Portsmouth Gaslight. It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant?
Yes.
What do you do there?
I serve right now, but I used to host.
Anybody else work there that you know?
My mother,
What does she do
she
there?
bartends.
All right. And do you guys go in together?
Yes, we do.
What are your usual hours at the Gaslight when you're working?
Usually after school, it's like 4:30 to 9. Usually I do like 5 days a week, have 2 days off.
All right. And Kendra, I do now want to, I just don't want to, intrude unnecessarily into your life, so let's keep this focused. I want to talk about April 4th of last year. What was going on earlier in the day for you, if you recall?
I went to school that day, I believe. I had school, it was a Thursday, and I went to my parents' house because we didn't have school on Friday, nor the weekend, so it was like a longer vacation for us to be over there. So it was like 3, we just got out of school. We went home, I didn't have work that day, so we all kind of just hung out in our rooms. I believe we were going to watch a movie later on in the night, but we ended up not. We just made dinner instead.
And remember anything about the weather?
I don't. It was it was cold. It was snowing.
Yep. Did that snow affect your, now recalling that it was snowing, did that affect your school schedule at all? Do you know?
I don't recall. I do not.
Okay. And so it sounds like you have a memory of the evening, the
Yes.
plans with your family,
Yes.
watch a movie, dinner.
Yes.
Tell me about what you were doing later in the evening.
I ate dinner and I went up to my room and I was gonna watch my own movie, and I watched some TikToks on my phone, and my parents were in their room at the time and my brother was in his room. I believe he was sleeping. It was already like 8 or 9 at the time.
Tell us what happened later that is obviously unusual.
Yeah, I was laying in my bed and my mom came in my room and she was just like, "Your dad's going to talk to the neighbor about plowing snow in the driveway." And I was like, okay, and we both walked downstairs. We were messing around in the living room talking to each other, and I ended up looking out the window to see if anything was going on, and I saw my dad walking home to walk away, but I didn't see the prior situation of him going out there. I think when I was going down the stairs, he was about to go outside. So I just saw when he was walking away and when Jason pulled the gun out.
You saw the gun come up?
Yes.
Kendra, do you know whether or not your home, your parents utilized a home surveillance system?
Yes.
You said you were looking out
Oh,
a
God love her
window
heart.
to see some of these events.
God love her heart. She's, now that they're getting into the situation, you can tell she's getting nervous and trying to hold back some tears. She seems like a very sweet, gentle girl. You know what I mean? Oh man, that's tough.
Can you describe that window for us if we were looking from the exterior of the building?
Yes, it's the window outside from our porch. It's like the huge window where you can see like the road and you can see some of the neighbors' houses across the street and the one across from us.
And that's the window you were looking out from?
Yes.
Is that also a window that utilizes a home security system?
It is, yes.
I feel like I interrupted you, and I don't want to necessarily have you talk or relive this, but can you describe to me again, I didn't quite follow what you saw when you looked out the window.
Yeah, when I looked out the window, I saw a truck open, the door open, and I saw Jason Levesque standing out of it. And I saw my dad walking to the house. He was just walking back on the side of the street, on the side of the road. And I saw Jason Levesque just pull the gun out. And that's when I yelled to my mom, he has a gun. And at the time, all I could do was just run out the door. So I ran out the door, and that's when my dad was already on the ground. And I looked at Jason and I said, you shot my dad like 3 times. He didn't say anything.
Do you need just a second? I want to ask you some more questions.
Of course.
You said you saw a truck.
Yes.
Can you describe generally where you saw that truck?
It was parked on the side of the street. It was more on his side of the property, Jason Levesque, but it was also kind of hitting in the middle of ours. So it was kind of in between of his steps, but also in the middle of entrancing our driveway.
You said you kind of have a memory of some of these events, the actions, the moments, and then going out to see your dad.
Yes.
Can you describe your father when you went out outside of your home?
He was laying there. He was laying on the ground. He was just like curled up in a ball.
And how did he appear to you?
Hurt.
How?
He was just bleeding everywhere. And he didn't say anything. And I was just holding it. And then I went to go get towels in the house because I didn't know what to do.
Did anybody else come outside?
My mom.
Your
She
mother?
came out after, yes.
Your mother, Angela?
Yes.
And while your mother was outside, is that when you went to get towels?
That is, yes.
And then what did you do? What other actions, if any, did you take?
My mom was outside yelling, call the cops, when I brought the towels back out. And I believe she was already on the phone with them, but that's when I started to dial 911 as well.
Did you complete that call to
I
911?
did, yes.
And share with me what happens after both you and your mother call 911.
I stayed on the call because the officer wanted me to stay on the call until the ambulance and the other police got there. So they came, I would probably say at least 2 minutes after the call.
And during that time, from when you came out and the 2 minutes, did your dad move, change locations?
No, he was just facing the snowbank and just curled up in a ball still.
On the ground?
Yes.
And you said that the police arrived some 2 minutes later
Yes.
by your estimate. Can you just briefly describe for us what happens next?
Yeah, my dad was laying there and that's when one of the cops came up and they took off his shirt, ripped it off, and the ambulance were putting him on one of those chairs to put him in the ambulance.
Did you observe for a period of time officers and the EMTs attempting to treat your dad?
No, not much afterwards.
And then after you were outside, can you tell us what other contact you may have had with police officers or law enforcement investigating this?
I don't think I had contact other than when one cop came in my house to ask, like, questions about what happened and asked if we had camera footage and all that.
Do you know whether or not you viewed or officers viewed the footage and whether that was turned over to?
Yes, it was turned over that night. My mother handed over my dad's phone.
Some of the events that you have described, do you believe they were captured on the video, the home surveillance system?
I do.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, we'd like to reorient and perhaps Attorney Sistian and Mr. Levesque would like to reorient. We can have a few minutes.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I'll say that this is the bane of my existence. We'll move it forward, and if the court can inquire whether there are any issues with the view of it, we'll try and accommodate. Could you give us a minute?
Well, she held it together pretty good so far, so that's good. Whew. I was waiting on her to completely fall apart, you know.
Yes. With the court's permission, I'm going to ask that the witness step into the well, Your Honor. Thank you.
Where do that now?
I am.
Can all jurors see the television where you sit?
Well, Your Honor, we'll pause it at the first image and reconfirm. But
Do you need the lights to do anything, or is it bright enough with the...
I'm sorry, Mike. I could bring the mic back.
No, the lights, are we going to need to dim the lights eventually? Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with that.
Okay. Kendra, can I ask you to step down with the judge's permission away from the witness stand?
Who is that? Members of the jury, can you all, down the end, can you all see that? Very good.
And it's possible, it's best if you kind of move forward into the well but not block jurors. And I am showing you, Your Honor, this has been pre-marked for identification as states number 2.
Thank you.
Kendra, you've described your view outside a window that's consistent with surveillance video from your home. Do you recognize this image? And can you explain for the record what you are seeing? And is this inquiring with the court or the court reporter whether or not the witness needs a mic? Yes, Mike?
Keep your voice up, man. This thing picks up like me.
I'm going to move this and try and keep my voice up. I think you just identified this as that bay window in your house that's adjacent to the porch from outside if you were looking at the house. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And is this then not only consistent with the view, but with what you understand to be the surveillance video from your home?
Yes, that is the only one I have seen.
I'm going to ask co-counsel, if we could proceed.
Well, at this point, Your Honor, let me just it's for ID, and I don't mind this being stricken all the way. I want this as a full exhibit.
Great.
So is it agreement this is now a full exhibit? Yes?
It's a full exhibit.
Very good. This will be marked as State's Exhibit 2 as a full exhibit.
Could we play?
And you're allowed to play it, yes. Fast forward.
Start at the beginning, please.
Thank you for that.
You recognize that vehicle that just came into view from right to left?
I do, yes.
What is that vehicle?
I believe that is Jason's truck.
Can you identify the house on the far side of this driveway in the foreground?
Yes, I can.
Whose house is that?
That is Jason's house.
At 41?
Yes.
Well, what in the world happened? Oh, they've ended for the day and then it slung it all the way back to the beginning like it typically does. As we go back to where we were. Okay. Right, Patricia? How rude.
Peter, is this lighting consistent with what you recall?
Yes.
And you recognize that as the same vehicle?
I do.
Yeah, can you pause right there? You had said that earlier that you were able to see essentially Jason get out of his truck. Are you able to identify his door opening in this image?
I do not. When I was watching further to the right-hand side of the window, so I was seeing the very.
Can you play? Can you stop it? And who is this who just left, apparently, your home?
bad.
And now in the left-hand image, and it may require you to move forward, are you able to identify Mr. Levesque in the far left next to the porch?
I was not out at that time, so no.
Okay. You said you were able to see him from the window. Can we keep playing?
Yep, there he goes. I don't know, he's all the way up there. You better not do anything stupid. Oh, you better not do anything fucking dumb. No, he's getting drunk. He hasn't got out of the jet. Ah! He just shot him! He just shot him! Hey!
Can you rewind that to...
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting to hear anything. Because I thought that the lawyer said a while ago that there was no audio. Maybe I misunderstood what, maybe he was talking about a different one, but wow. And there was no like pausing in between those gunshots. It was boom, 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 boom. You know? Right, I know, Kel. I saw her shake her head no when he said, can you rewind it? She's not. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, right there. Were you able to see, Kendra, your dad and Jason in the far image when you were inside?
I was watching that.
Yeah.
I was.
Okay. And whose voice is that in the, I guess, background or the overlay of this video?
My mom.
Was your, fair to say your mom was also with you watching out this window?
She was not watching. She was just in the living room.
Okay. And can we advance it forward again? What's that? Yeah. Back from when they were at the truck, though.
You better not do anything stupid. Oh, you better not do anything fucking dumb. No, he's getting drunk. He hasn't got out of the jet. Ah! He just shot him! He just shot him! Hey!
Can you identify who that is? And now?
My mom.
Is this when you came back into the home to get the towels?
I need to call it. Call 911.
And are you in fact calling 911 at this
Yes.
time? Okay. Your Honor, believe by agreement, the idea is struck and this is now moved as a full exhibit in the
Correct.
evidence.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
So we're done showing this at this point? Can we all go back where we are, or is there more?
We can. I am good.
Good. Nancy, go back.
I'd like it available for cross-examination.
It'll be available.
Bring the lights back up.
If I may, Your Honor. If I may. Yes. So you had testified earlier that the police arrived in short order. What happened to your dad afterwards?
He got taken to Frisbee Hospital, I believe, and my mom went to go see my dad.
Okay.
Yes.
And I assume your brother was at home.
Yes.
And did you stay with your brother?
Yes.
Is that parts of that video a fair representation of what you saw and experienced that night?
No, I believe it's correct.
Thank you. I could have a moment here. Thank you. Attorney Sisti has some questions.
Of course.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, Sisti. How are you?
I'm okay.
Thank you.
Everybody calls me that. Hey, let me ask you something, okay? We never met before.
Yes.
Okay. But that was horrific to watch, right?
Yes.
I mean, seeing your dad get shots is going to be about the most terrible thing.
Yes, it is.
Especially, I mean, a daughter and a father.
Yes, you are correct.
I mean, you're dedicated to him, right?
I love him, yes.
And he loves you like crazy, right?
I like crazy, yes.
Right. And it's kind of a special bond, right?
Yes.
You were talking, you were calling Jason, but prior to the 4th of April, you didn't really know Jason, right?
I didn't know him too much, no.
No, I mean, there wasn't any real connection there between your family and his family, right?
No, not much, no.
Right. I mean, you live next door.
Yes.
He never bothered you, right?
No, I have not had contact with him ever.
Let me ask you something straight up, okay? On that particular day, the 4th of April, at that particular time, there was a voice that the jury heard on that video, and it wasn't yours, was it?
What voice was it, sir?
Yeah, it would have said, "I hope he doesn't do anything stupid." Did you recall hearing that?
I did, but that was not my voice, no.
No. Do you know whose voice that was?
That was my mother.
All right. And again, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to offend you with words,
Okay.
but there was also a comment that was, "I hope he doesn't do anything fucking dumb."
Yeah.
And who would that have been?
Who would that be towards?
Yeah.
I do not know.
This was after your father left the house.
This was, yes.
Okay. And you saw the video.
I did.
It's absolutely terrible, I'm sure, for you to see. I may have to ask you to see it again. Is that okay?
That is all right.
Okay. All right. But I'm going to ask you a few things about it, and then I think I'm going to ask that it be played again, just so everybody understands what's going on here, okay?
That is okay.
Okay. We're looking out the window, and it does show your driveway, right?
Yes, it does.
And the driveway is not plowed in any way, shape, or form, right?
No, it is not. We were going to have my friend's dad come plow it.
Right.
Yes.
And the Department of Public Works in Rochester had plowed that day,
Yes.
and you could see where they plowed because there was a ridge of snow at the end of your driveway.
Yes.
Okay. And that was there prior to Jason and the truck ever showing up, right?
Yes, we did have snow.
Yes. A great deal of snow.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And as you're watching that particular video, would it be fair to say you couldn't hear what was going on outside, right?
Yes, of course.
You don't know what your father said to Jason?
I do not know.
You don't know what Jason, if anything, would have said to your father, right?
You are right.
Hey, let me ask you something else. Did you ever meet Jason's daughter?
I have never.
Never.
No.
So what we saw in the video, and I'm probably going to have it rubbed up again. I hate to do this to you, if you understand. I really do. Okay. But what we saw was that your driveway wasn't plowed, and we saw Jason operating his plow truck out in the road, right?
Yes.
And there's that telephone pole, light pole, that's pretty visible in that video.
Yes, sir.
And you may not know this, but the jury went out with us this morning to that scene so we could all see it together.
Okay.
So now we're all talking about the same thing.
Of course.
And we know that that telephone pole, light pole, is on the other side of your driveway, the Levesque side of the driveway.
It is. It's at the end of our driveway, yes.
Right. And we saw the plow truck plowing snow, and it only went up to the telephone pole, correct?
It did go a little past the telephone.
It wasn't blocking your driveway.
No, it wasn't, no.
And then what we see, did you actually see Jason get out of the truck?
I did not. I just saw them outside of the car together.
All right. So you saw your father approaching Jason, right?
No, I saw when my dad was walking away from Jason.
Okay, so you never even saw the initial contact.
No, I was upstairs in my room.
So you don't know how any of that started at all that evening, right?
I do not know. I just know it was obviously over snow.
Yeah, well, something was
Yes,
going on.
yes.
And obviously there was a shooting at the end of it, right?
Yes.
But you don't know what started it, right?
I do not know.
And you don't know how it got to the point where a firearm was used, right?
No, I do not, sir.
I'm going to, just for clarification, just so we make sure we know where the positions are and what took place, I'm going to ask to have that re-shown if I could.
Oh,
I may
good
ask you a
Lord.
couple questions as it's going, so you may want to take.
That is totally okay.
Okay, thank you.
God love her heart. He's going to make her watch that again. Jeez.
And we can run it to the spot, or a little before the spot where you ended it. I just need the graphics up to that spot. We gotta go all the way back
I apologize, to the beginning or
to the beginning.
Beginning, or do you want to?
No, begin. The beginning's good. Okay, it takes a little time before we get to the action here. So, and again, this is your driveway, right? And it's unplowed. And it doesn't look like much action there. Some little tire tracks, but nothing out to the road, right? Okay. Not a lot of coming and going that day. Here we go. This would have been Jason's truck. Okay.
Can jurors hear the witness's answer? Yes. Okay. Very good.
And again, you didn't see any of this either, did you?
I didn't know.
Right. But it certainly shows that night, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Where's your bedroom relative to this location?
Mine is upstairs, and you have a window on the top that points out that way, kind of.
Okay.
Or I was,
Okay, so you're actually looking out a window too.
at this time, no, I was in,
You're in bed.
yes.
Tell me when you're starting to look out the window.
I don't know my mom came in, and she said that.
Okay.
She was going for a conversation.
Is this about where you get to see it?
No, they were
Yeah.
already talking.
They were already talking.
Yes.
Can you agree with me that Jason's truck is not obstructing anything on your property?
At the moment, yes.
And again, just to keep it up to speed, you still didn't see this part either, right?
I did not know.
Good. Okay, now were you situated a little bit more to the right at this point?
I don't believe I was there right now.
Okay, you saw your dad leave?
Yes, I did.
Okay, can we stop it right there for a second? you. Jason's truck, you can hardly even see, right?
You can hardly even see from the corner that is that. I was at the other corner.
No, I get it. But it would have been entirely away from your property.
What do you mean?
It wasn't near your driveway, that.
You backed up, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was
So, yeah.
quite a bit of,
It
yeah.
wasn't in our property now.
No, it wasn't. And you'd agree with me that throughout the entire playing of this video that we've all been watching, that truck wasn't obstructing your driveway at all.
You can tell that the snow was being pushed that end of our driveway.
It was pushed at the telephone pole, correct?
A little past the telephone.
Well, I mean, the jury sees it. Where's the telephone pole?
It's right there.
Right, it's on the other side of your driveway.
Yes. But it's still our driveway because there's 2 lanes of our driveway.
The jury was out looking at it today.
We have 2 different backing spaces. We have a car with 4 cars parked and we have a car with 3 cars parked. We have 2 different.
Okay,
2 different backing spaces.
we got it. You understand we were out there today, right?
I do.
Okay, good. Okay, so we can't see Jason's truck at this, we see your father approaching the truck, right?
Yes.
You don't see Jason approaching your father at all, right? Okay, if you can continue playing.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
I don't know, lovely up there.
Can we stop it right there?
You better not do anything stupid.
Thank you. You better not do anything stupid. Now, who said that? Your mom. Can you see? I know it's tough to see, but can you see that little bit in the corner where your father would have approached Jason?
I can right now, yes.
And it's your father going to him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it's your father going right up to him, right?
Yes, I have a conversation when he said it's
A conversation. Okay. Do you know if he threatened him? Did you hear anything? So you don't know what was actually said?
I didn't.
All right, we can continue playing. Thank you. Okay, can we
Oh,
start?
you better not do it.
You don't know what's going on there, do you?
Not exactly, because I'm not outside.
Right. You don't know if there was an exchange or if there was this a one-way conversation, right? And certainly you don't know what your father would have been saying to Jason at that. That is correct. Okay. All right, we can continue.
No, he's getting drunk. He hasn't come out of the cat. Ah! He just
That's fine. I don't want to put you through that again, okay? Okay, why don't you grab a seat? Thank you.
Thank God he didn't make her go any further past that. It's safe now, Donnie. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So you'd agree with me, there's a fairly quick interchange there,
Yes, it was.
and unfortunately, you got to see something that was absolutely horrific.
It was, yes.
And you don't know what the exchange was between your father and Jason.
I don't.
So it's difficult for you to actually come to an actual conclusion as to what happened, right?
Of course, yes.
I appreciate you coming up there. eh?
Of course.
You're brave. You know that?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor, just briefly. You had mentioned that there was a plan for, sounds like a friend's father to come plow.
Yes.
Do you know what happened to that plan?
We had it planned since like 5 in the afternoon, and he had work until like very late, and he planned on coming around 10 when we needed him to plow, and he got there 10 minutes later, and he called us to tell us he was here, and my mom was like, you need to leave, like something just went on. So,
And so he was supposed to come at about 5 o'clock, is what you just said,
Yes.
and he hadn't come.
yes.
Do you know the communications between your mom and your dad concerning?
I don't, I just know during that time, we didn't know if he was gonna end up coming, so we knew that we were gonna have to probably hand shovel it,
Okay.
so it was.
That was going to be my question. If he didn't show up, and he didn't show up at 5, how was that driveway going to be clear?
Yeah, we had work the next morning at 11, so we needed to clear it by that night or the next morning. So it was just more of, there's more snow in our driveway.
I understand that your living situation had you there some days and not there other days.
Yes,
I'm not sure whether you know anything about the first snowstorm of the season and any issues between Jason and your dad.
I do not.
Okay. And so Attorney Sisti asked you some questions about, you know, what you observed with the plow going up to the pile, kind of up to maybe beyond the pole.
Yes, of course.
Do you know whether or not Mr. Levesque was actually finished plowing? Had he pulled, for instance, all the snow out of his driveway?
No, it looked like he was still plowing because in the end of the video when my dad went to go out, he was backing up to plow again.
And it doesn't sound like, given the circumstances, you went over and made any observations of Mr. Levesque's driveway
I did not.
and how far advanced he was in finishing this task.
Of course.
Have any idea where the snow is ultimately going to end up?
You're right.
Look, the Attorney Sisti asked you some questions about, you know, what happened out there between your dad and Mr. Levesque. And it sounds like you're straight up front, you know, you couldn't hear that conversation.
I could not, no.
But you saw your dad putting on his, you said, you confirmed with Attorney Sisti that the moment you kind of start making observations is he's putting on his hoodie.
Yes.
You see him with any weapons?
He does not know.
Did you see him with, I don't know, a screwdriver or anything on his person?
He didn't even have his phone on him.
Did you see him during the times that you observed him, walking away, walking back towards Mr. Levesque, brandishing anything in his hands that was?
Not at all, no.
Thank you. Those are the questions.
Just a couple. Actually, you don't know what was on your father.
I do not.
And certainly, from what we saw, and we just saw it briefly from a tough angle, it didn't appear as though Jason would be able to see what was on your father either.
Objection, speculation.
If you can answer it from what you saw on the video.
What are you asking?
You can't tell whether or not Jason saw what was inside your father's pockets, for instance.
I feel like you can, yes. If you're throwing over a hoodie and there's nothing in the pockets, nothing fell out, so.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have pockets in his sweatpants, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to try to clarify. Did it appear to you as though Jason was watching your father put a hoodie on?
I do not know.
Right. So the whole hoodie thing really doesn't mean anything.
I believe it does, yes.
If he saw him putting on a hoodie, maybe that would mean something?
I have no clue if he didn't or did see. He was in his truck.
Okay. So you don't even know if Jason was observing your father when he came out toward him, correct?
No, he was in his truck.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, yeah. Thank you, Your Honor. Angela Violette.
Okay, so this would be the wife, or that girl's mom, coming up next. And I'd say they're probably going to play all that again for her testimony. That's my guess. I could be wrong, though. I don't know. Sidebar City. Scooch through the sidebar.
Today, an hour, rather than start another witness at this.
Oh, okay. So apparently they're not going to call her. I think they're calling it for the day.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as sometimes happens, we're going to stop a little early today. Just scheduling reasons, it just makes sense for us given the late hour, rather than start another witness at this point. We're just going to suspend for the rest of the day. We'll start up again tomorrow morning. No worries, though. We are told by the parties that we are well on track to finish this case on time. So we're going to stop today. I will tell you, I do try my best not to waste your time ever. So I do always try to start when I say we're going to start and take breaks when I say we're going to, and we're going to try to do that for the rest of this trial. So I'd like you back here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, correct?
That's correct, John.
10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can be here a few minutes early, not too much early, but 10:05 or 10 minutes before that would be best. And that way we can try to get started right at 10 o'clock. If by chance we can't start at 10 o'clock, as sometimes happens, that's not the fault of the parties, that's the fault of the court, because sometimes things come up unexpectedly because I have to do on other cases. But we'll do our best to start right now. All right? All of my prior instructions to you remain in place. The most important one, do not talk amongst yourselves or with anyone else about this trial, about the facts of this case. Don't do any independent research. So no internet research. Don't go back to the scene of this location. Those are the main things. And otherwise, have a good night. Thank you.
Please rise.
Review any media accounts about this.
I'm not sure what that footage was, unless it was from the jury view, maybe, that they have on the screen right now. I would assume that's what that is. Yes, I would assume so, but I could be wrong. Okay. I'm just skipping through. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, considering those police cars riding up and down through there. Yeah. Yep. It's a pretty house. Sad. Oh, Lord, cameraman's got that like way down on the pavement. Oh my goodness, that's making me seasick. Oh my God. There's no audio. Oh, goodness. I got the yawns, you guys. But it's cool to be able to see the area where it happened, you know? Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to scooch it out to the very end, make sure I don't miss anything of importance. You know what I mean? Zoom, 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 and a boom, boom. Just shake your rope. Do the Humpty Hump. Okay, you guys, I think that's it. Yep. Alrighty then. Yeah, it happened April of 2024. Very soon, or, not very far. April 4th. No bail for the defendant. Okay. I didn't know for sure. Hey, Chrissy. Chrissy says, hey, y'all. Just got here. I'm not familiar with this case. So just a quick little, recap. I didn't either until today. So these two guys are neighbors, next door neighbors in New Hampshire. And Jason is the defendant. He's the one on trial for attempted murder. So he drives a snowplow, comes home from working, they said a 24-hour shift. I don't know about that, but I mean, very possible, I guess. Anyway, he comes home, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and he starts plowing his, driveway and stuff. And the road in front of his house, I guess. And the guy next door, his name is Kyle Violette. What, baby? Yeah, we're going to go here in just a few minutes. So the guy next door comes outside of his house to tell him to knock it off because he's prone to pushing the snow, plowing the snow over into his driveway and, onto his property. So I guess they get into an altercation and the Jason dude pulls out a pew-pew and shoots the dude like 5 or 6 times. And it was caught on camera. And, so that's what happened. Now, the defendant says he shot in self-defense because he says that the victim said, threatened basically his family. And so that's why he shot him. So anyway, Donnie says, yeah, they only make money when they are plowing, especially if they have contracts. 24 hours is not unusual. How do they do that? How do they stay awake for 24 hours? God, this is giving me Karen Reed vibes with the plows. Oh, God. It's giving me Karen Reed vibes. What was that plow driver's name? I forget his name. Can't remember. In that case. But anyway. All right. I'm going to get out of here, but we'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what time. I guess I could start it. He said 10 o'clock, and I'm on the same time zone, so it's 10 Eastern. Lucky. That's it. Donnie, thank you. Lucky was the plow driver's name, the plow truck driver's name in the Karen Reed case in Boston. Thank you, Gail. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I love you too. So I'll be back tomorrow morning. He said start time at 10. I guess I could do that and then end and do kind of like what we had been doing. Go ahead and end for lunch and then start back after lunch. Snow should be the co-defendant. Wasn't expecting this. Yeah, Donnie. I mean, I remember Kathy Russin had said that there was going to be a new trial starting today, but she didn't give any details, so I didn't know what it was about. And then when I found out that it was an attempted, murder case, I was like, oh, well, that's different because we always have murder cases. So I thought it would be interesting. But I promised Kiddo that we would go on a picnic. So we're going to go on a quick little picnic out in the backyard. I'll probably, Morgana, just walk in my own backyard. Okay. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm going to holler at Dale and have him come in and look at this picture. Hold on. Hey, honey. Hey, Dale. Dale, come here. I gotta go back and find it. I'm gonna see what his reaction is. Right, Patricia? I know. Patricia, did you see the picture Morgana made of me? Come here a minute. So you're on the stream. They can hear you, but I want to get. Let me turn the Well, I mean, I don't want Jolie in the camera. Come here and look at this picture that someone made of me.
Stay in there.
She can. I've got the camera off. Look at this. Can you read that? Oh. Can you read it?
Yes, Jenny.
Did you see the number? It said call 1-800-867-5309. No. I told him that I went walking yesterday. Oh, yeah. And that I didn't want to go by myself because I was afraid I'd turn into a true crime case. Yeah. No kidding. Somebody run off with me. Oh my God. Oh, Patricia says, no, I'll have to go back and catch up on the first 40 minutes. Well, here, I'll show you real quick the picture that Morgana made. So you just heard me say the story. I went walking at a church up the road from where we live, and it's just one of those little old country churches that has a cemetery. Well, around the cemetery, they've got like a paved lane that you can actually drive on with your car, to go visit your loved ones at the cemetery. And but there's very hardly ever anybody out there. And so we walk out there. But we've done that for years and years and years and years. Anytime we want to walk, like for exercise, we go there and walk because, you just make laps and laps and laps and laps around. Well, I didn't want to go by myself because it is in the country and people are cray cray. And I said I didn't want to end up like, a true crime story. And Morgana made this picture of me and sent it. And here I will share it. It's the picture of me with the CPAP mask. Remember that picture she swined the other day off of the computer? And it's a missing on a milk jug. But it says, the description says, last seen strolling with her family in the graveyard of her small country town. Her family says she was carrying her travel mug filled with coffee, wearing 2 pairs of glasses, and clutching her back while leaning on a headstone. Call 1-800-867-5309. 867-5309. I'm missing. God. That was cute. I loved it. I will tell him the witch made it. She does need a timeout, right, Patricia? All right, you guys, I'm going to get out of here and go do the picnic thing. So, but I'll see you back tomorrow morning. Probably start somewhere between 10 and 11. I'll allow maybe 30 minutes so that, we can skip through their like little mid-morning break. But yeah, somewhere between 10:30 and 11. Okay. Gana is talented, right? Milk carton was a good touch, and the number, 100%. She's very talented. All right, I love you guys, and I'll see you back tomorrow. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Subscribe if you're new. Click the notification bell, and hashtag replay in the comments down below if you watch this on the replay. Okay? All right. I love you guys bunches. Bye.